and we found some big lions. Morning, thank you, Andrew. Styx. So it looks like the Styx pride. You can actually see suckle marks on that female's belly. And you can see around her nipples there, a little wet patch. Now, hopefully they've brought the cubs to visit cheetah plains. But they have got massive bellies. They've obviously been feeding quite well. There we go, you can see the suckle marks. Look at this, isn't this great? Now you can see the sun just trying to come onto this west-facing slope, and they've definitely eaten something if you look at the size of her belly. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to listen. I thought I heard something. I can hear an Egyptian goose making noise in the distance.
It's been phenomenal.
So we found the tracks of these lionesses a couple of times around the western edges of Cheetah Plains and the southern boundary. And this is the first time I've seen these Styx ladies in a very long time. So they have been keeping their cubs further to the west of here, but there's always a chance. Always a chance that they could have brought the cubs into this creek system or river system that runs below the Cheetah Plains lodge. Now, this particular Styx lioness for me is one of the biggest lionesses we see around. She is a massive female. And I think these lions were spotted while everyone was having coffee or tea to start the morning at Cheetah Plains. Oh, look at that. That beautiful light in her eyes. Now, wouldn't it be nice if they decided... Oh, look at that belly. Oh, definitely had a good meal last night. And you can see the sun is starting to creep onto the lioness at the back there as it gets a little bit higher on the horizon, and it should catch up with us in this cold weather. We quite like the sun, and I think the big cats will as well. A bit of basking in the sunlight, so they've obviously fed very well last night. Now, the reason I say I think they might have spotted these lions from the Cheetah Plains lodge is because if we have a look just over here, there's the little water hole in front of the lodge. I'm going to get Dave to zoom in. So there's the water hole. If we go slightly to the left, keep going, keep going. There we go. There's the lodge, and there's someone getting everything ready for when the guests get back from game drive later. So I think they were spoiled while having coffee this morning. With 2 lionesses walked down to the pan for a drink. And for those of you who might be new, the Styx pride is sort of the pride we see the second most of, or traditionally did, till sort of the lion dynamics have shifted heavily in this area. And when the Birminghams first took over, they had I think they had 2 little cubs, which the male lions killed. So it's a strong possibility that their current sets of cubs are from the Birmingham boys. Now they have 8 cubs between the 3 lionesses. We've only got 2 of the lionesses here. The other might be with her cubs. So Jen B says it looks like she might have caught mange from her mating partner. There is a Birmingham boy who has a bit of bare skin on his belly. If we go close into that, please, Dave. A little bit closer. Jen, I don't think it's mange. And I think it's probably just a little fungal infection. And I don't think that Birmingham boy's got mange either. So, because his hair has started growing back, and that would be very uncommon if it was sarcoptic mange. And as you can see, oh, Dave, quick. Look at that. Just very beautiful grey heron flying in that morning light. For the birdies, we've got big cats and birds. Off he goes. So isn't this exciting? We are going to sit here for a while, but if they don't move in the next 10 minutes, I think with the belly that size, it's unlikely. But what we can do, we'll probably sit for 10-15 minutes just to see if they move. Maybe the cubs are around. If they don't move, we'll head off. We've got male leopard tracks that we found and we were following when we got called for these lions, and there's also still the chance of wild dogs. So if they're not going to move, we'll leave them be and come back a little later on the safari. But for now, let's just sit and see if they move. Just zoom there on her back for me, please, Dave. What is that? Oh, just a little bite mark. Probably from fighting over food. So, speaking of lions' food, Joey in Australia would like to know, do lions ever hunt kudu? And if so, how often? Well, they do hunt kudu if that's what they happen to come across. But lions are opportunistic hunters, so they'll hunt what's in front of them. In this area, they tend to hunt quite a lot of buffalo, especially now moving into the drier months. So the buffalo are dropping a bit of condition. The herds actually they're forming bigger herds, up to about 500 at the moment. So there's always a chance of grabbing a baby or a weaker one out of those big herds. So at the moment, they tend to be focusing on buffalo. But if a kudu happened to walk in front of them, they definitely wouldn't say no. And I'd say in certain parts of Africa, kudu form quite a big part of lions' diets. Now, one must remember that a lot of this stuff, rather than being animal-specific, is area-specific. So the lions here will behave slightly differently to the lions in the Okavango or the South Luangwa. I mean, there's a lot of general traits that are the same, but when it all depends on the surrounding bush and the surrounding densities of game. So where there's a lot of buffalo, lions tend to focus on buffalo. Where there's not a lot of buffalo, lions tend to focus on the other big animals. So, for example, in the Kalahari Desert, the lions do hunt a lot of kudu, as well as eland and gemsbok. But out here, I'd say, I have seen the one kudu kills before, but I'd say buffalo is the main animal they focus on here. I'm just going to move the vehicle quickly. And if you're wondering and want to know more about these lions, just pop me an email at questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try get that lioness who's lying in that gorgeous morning light. Oh, she's not so full. So So it looks like maybe the other one was a greedy guts or caught something small while she was away from the other lioness. And she's hungry, but by no means starving. But just look at that wonderful early morning light on her. Oh, she looks like she's just moving out of the early morning light. Now, just zoom in on her nipples as well. And yep, suckle marks there as well. So you see, when I'm referring to suckle marks, you can see the nipples are enlarged, but there's that damp patch around them. And that can last for quite a while. So it looks like she's what the other lioness that's got cubs. So remember correctly, they've got 4 each. I'm just going to move again to get the light on this female lying opposite us. There we go. So, a very good morning to Bud in North Carolina. Bud would like to know how long will a female lion stay away from her cubs. Completely dependent, but often as long as 3 or 4 days. But generally around as short a time as possible, depending on food availability and stuff. But they will often, I'd say 2 days is sort of the norm. But they will try to get back sort of every 2 days. Oh, so comfy. Nothing looks quite as comfortable as a lion sleeping, and they do a lot of it. On average, a lion will sleep for about 20 hours a day, and the 4 hours of movement is not 4 hours of movement constantly. Quite often walk 20 minutes, lie down half an hour, walk half an hour, lie down an hour. So it all depends on how hungry they are or what they're up to. So lionesses will also defend a territory against other lionesses, even lionesses that might fall within the same, under the same coalition of males. So the Styx Pride and the Nkuhuma Pride both fall under the Birmingham Boys. That was a coalition of 5 males. About a month ago, one of the males died from internal injuries from a buffalo, we think. You can hear the dawn chorus of birds has suddenly decided to wake up. The francolins are giving it a proper go. You can hear starlings, orioles, red-billed buffalo weavers. Egyptian geese. Good morning, Natasha in Ontario. No, I shouldn't complain about cold because you guys get bitterly cold up there in the Great White North. But Natasha is wondering, do lion cubs have a better survival rate than leopard cubs? They don't. It's very similar. Around 70 to 75% of the cubs will die. And again, like leopards, most of them are killed by male lions. So male leopards kill leopard cubs and male lions kill lion cubs. Now, a lot of that is done by nomadic lions, so young males that are still too young to find their own territory and move through different areas. Now, like all little cubs out here, they have quite a strong chance of also being killed by hyenas, by leopard, by cheetah. Lion cubs I've seen lion cubs killed by buffalo. A herd of buffalo smelt them out and stampeded over them. And a lot of that also depends on the strength of the pride. Now, believe it or not, I've been watching this, well, the first time I saw the Styx Pride must have been 10 years ago. Further south, their territory does extend south from the northern Sabi Sands into the central Sabi Sands. And when I first used to see the Styx Pride, there were 11 adult females in it. So they were a very big pride. and now I think there are only 3, hey Andrew? 3. Yeah. So, and that happens often with lion prides, and they go through dips and peaks, but it's a very fascinating thing. Now, we chat a lot about how female leopards invest more time in the male cubs because it's the best chance of them spreading their genes, because the male is going to move out and mate with multiple females that are generally not related to them. But with lions, it's slightly different. So the genetic strength of the lion pride is within the females. So they defend the female cubs probably a bit more vigorously than the males. Male cubs also bring danger as soon as they start getting over about 2.5 years old, even from their own fathers or from outside males. So a male lion is not something you want to have in your pride for too long. But with females, the genetic strength lies within the females. So they do protect those female cubs a bit better than the male cubs, and difficult to say if they put more effort into it, but there's at a certain stage when they start trying to push the males out of the pride. Now that doesn't always happen. We've seen that with Inca women. They seem incredibly tolerant of junior, but that is not the norm. Just like with the leopards, you never know. And I'm not sure what the sexual makeup of the Styx cubs are yet. There are 8 of them, and there's bound to be both male and female in a group of cubs that large. Now, the other interesting thing about lions is that they are allosucklers. Now, it's a very strange sounding word, allosucklers. What could an allosuckler be? So they're cooperative sucklers. So because that genetic strength lies within the strength of the pride, the females will suckle, excuse you, Dave, will suckle cubs that are not theirs. Of course, they're probably going to share a lot of genetics with those cubs. So lion cubs will suckle from all the different females that happen to be lactating at that time. And this is very interesting in cats. And lions are the only truly social cat. And that's why they have some behaviors that are very different from the rest of the felid family. Morning, Tammy. Tammy would like to know, do lionesses, when they have cubs, keep their dens away from each other or close together or whatnot? They'll generally be apart until they introduce those cubs to the pride. Now, the Styx seem to introduce the cubs to the pride quite early in comparison to other lions I've seen in other parts of Africa. Now, as I said, animal behavior is area specific and even be pride specific rather than species specific. So last time they introduced cubs at around 1.5 months, which is very young. Normally, it can be as young as a month, but normally closer to 2 months when the cubs are introduced to the pride. Now the main reason for this is because lions forget that they're friends when it comes to dinner time, and they tend to box each other quite fiercely around the carcass. And when those cubs are quite young, they could accidentally get a swat from a paw that could injure them heavily or even kill them. And that's one of the reasons the cubs are kept away from the main body of the pride for quite a while. So it doesn't look like these girls are going to be moving anytime soon. So I think we're going to carry on, see if we can get back onto those male leopard tracks and even maybe the wild dog tracks. So we're going to leave these ladies to sleep up. We'll definitely come back and check on them a little later. Bye-bye, ladies. I mean, not even a head raised as we move out of here. So we're in the far east of our Traverse area on the beautiful Cheetah Plains private game reserve, and we're going to now fly back to the northwest to see what Jamie's up to on Djuma.